I would like to call this special public board meeting of the Neshaminy Board of Directors to order. Roll call. Ms. Burns, please.
Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mrs. Hallenbeck.
Present.
Mrs. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Kovitz.
Here.
Mrs. Lafferty.
Here.
Mr. Cirillo.
Here.
Mr. Sporny.
Here.
Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All rise for a pledge of allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to announce the board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment, issues related to labor relations, the purchase or lease of real property, matters related to litigation, and matters related to school safety and security. Ms. Burns, do we have any announcements?
No announcements.
Announcements. All right, at this time, I think you are aware that Region 1 has an open seat, Mr. Piertano's, and this meeting has been called in order to appoint his replacement. At this time, open the podium up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on that or any items on the agenda? Seeing none, I'd like to invite our candidates for the seat to come approach the podium and introduce themselves, and so that we can open a discussion. And please introduce yourself and your address.
Good evening. My name is Steve Linden. I'm from Feasterville. It is an honor to stand here tonight, especially recognizing that whoever fills the vacant seat is not elected, they're selected. And in my opinion, there is a difference, but it doesn't change the work that would have to be done and the diligence it's required to discharge that. In thinking about being here tonight and needing to say something, I rethought my thoughts that went into me authoring the letter of intent that I sent to the board that was required. I really put a lot of effort into that. And I insisted to myself that I say everything that was important to me in the one page that I allotted myself so that I wouldn't be wordy. I think I did a pretty good job, but when it came time to be here tonight and to try to write something, I said, that's really as good as I can do. I'm not sure who, if anybody, saw it or who other than these people saw it. So the really best I can do is refer to that letter of intent because it says what I want to say. I've been a 35-year resident of Lower Southampton Township, having graduated 3 of our 5 children from Neshaminy High School. Linda and I have 9 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. I have owned and operated a local title insurance agency for 30 years up until 2016, when I merged my company with that of another. I continue in the industry on a consultant basis. I believe in community service and believe that my career experience would contribute in a positive way to the operations of our district. In your consideration, aspects of my experience that would be helpful included mainly that I maintained fiduciary responsibility for approximately $10 million per month for 30 years. Additionally, I served on the board of directors of our condominium association down at the shore for more time than I care to remember. However, it is actually my family perspective that is the impetus for my interest and involvement in our schools. Our children are by far our most valuable asset. I'm also the grandfather of a special needs child and have a personal aspiration to make sure we continue to provide for this vulnerable population as possible. Serving on this board requires recognition that the entire community be represented, and while our children's education is certainly at the forefront, we must also be ever mindful of our Neshaminy taxpayers who provide for our school system. I can't think of a better way to use my life experience but to care for and hopefully make a difference in the lives of these, our most valuable assets. My having the opportunity to fill the vacancy could not be, in my way of thinking, more important or appropriate way to contribute. And while, like many, I've been an avid viewer of meetings via video, I began to attend board meetings last summer and recently began attending committee meetings after hearing about how they are the real way to get involved in the business of the district. The nuts and bolts of how we conduct the business of education really sparked my interest. And when the opportunity presented itself, I knew it was time for me, as they say, to have some skin in the game. That's me. I thank you for your consideration. And certainly if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, this time, if you wouldn't mind entertaining a few questions from the board, I open the, do that later?
During the discussion.
Oh, okay. Apologize. Mr. Lynn, if you wouldn't mind, you can take your seat for the moment. Thank you. Are there any other candidates coming up?
I don't see 'em.
I understood there were more. I do not see them. Going once, twice. Ms. Harker? Oh, wrong region, sorry.
So now nominations are in order.
No. Nominations are in order. Bear with us, this is unusual. At the moment, I call for a nomination from the floor.
I'd like to make a nomination. I'd like to nominate Steve Linden to represent Region 1 on the Neshaminy School Board.
I'll second that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
By
it.
Mr. Sullivan.
So then,
Are there any other nominations?
there were 12. So then you can close nomination.
All right. Closing nominations.
And then you're looking, do you hear a motion
Now I need a motion to,
to approve Mr. Linden, because he's the only nomination?
so, now I need a motion to approve Mr. Linden for the vacant seat. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve Steve Linden to represent Region 1 on the Neshaminy School Board.
Motion by Ms. Bowman. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Sullivan.
This discussion.
Discussion?
And now I go ahead.
Now, if you wouldn't mind coming back to the podium. We don't do this every day, thank you.
Neither do I.
So, what's the impetus for deciding to become a if not elected, a chosen volunteer to serve the district? Why education?
About 5 years ago, I decided that schools were really the number one issue in our country. I was unhappy with a lot of things that I saw. And as I've said tonight and many other times, I think those children are our greatest asset. And if you look at it a certain way, we don't have much other than that as an asset. So to reach my stage in life and have a desire and now the time to serve the community, it just was a very natural process for me. And I really mean that very, very natural. You can ask close friends of mine or relatives. I spoke 3, 4, 5 years ago as if I knew that I'd be here tonight. That's the way I spoke. I spoke to people. I spoke about issues in education that I thought were important to me. And like I said, the opportunity presented itself, and it was a little breathtaking to me to travel that distance and then suddenly have it in the offing. So it was really a very natural thing for me after that. I hope that answers the question.
Can you handle the pay?
Pardon me? Can I handle it?
Yeah, you know, it's,
Mrs. Hollenbeck, you know what I did for a living.
I know,
You can
I
handle
know.
it.
I'm just trying to.
I know. That's the first time I've said Mrs. Hollenbeck, too. I know Tina a long time.
Any other discussion? Motion, I have a second, so that's 2.01. All right, there is a motion on the floor having a second. That brings us to item 2.01, the Board of Neshaminy School Directors vacancy in Region 1. Whereas the Neshaminy Board of School Directors approved and accepted the resignation of Stephen Puritano at the April 26, 2022 school board meeting, and whereas Section 315 of the School Code provides that the remaining members of the school board appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy within 30 days of when the vacancy occurred. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of School Directors hereby approves Mr. Stephen Linden to fill the balance remaining of the Region 1 vacancy through December 2023. Ms. Burns, may I now have roll call vote, please?
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman,
Yes.
Mrs. Hallenbeck,
Yes.
Mr. Kovitz,
Yes.
Mr. Sorello,
Yes.
and Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Welcome aboard. Thought I missed, what did I
Thank you.
miss?
Thank you very much.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Oh,
My fault.
my
Mrs.
apologies.
Mrs. Lafferty,
Yes.
and Mr. Sporny.
Yes.
8 yes.
I was counting two, and I
I thought when you got to a majority, you just said.
thought we got everybody.
Okay.
Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and
Appreciate it.
please take a seat.
Oh, he has to be sworn in.
Gotta be sworn in by.
I will get this right, I'm sorry. Well, no, I won't have to do this again, hopefully. Yeah. We did it right.
And it's still a Steve, so we're all good.
Then I introduce the Honorable District Justice Daniel Baranowski, who will now administer the oath of office.
I state your name.
I, Stephen Linden,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go.
Your pen?
You get lots of pens.
You're the best.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Give it a week.
You get good pens.
The close of our special meeting. Do I have any other board business? Yes, we'll always call. Okay. The podium is open for another round of public comment. Anyone wish to approach? Seeing none, close public comment. Another round of board comment.
I just want to say welcome aboard, Steve. Big shoes to fill. We will certainly miss Steve Parentano, but I am confident that you will be able to carry your position and represent Region 1. And thank you for offering to sit with us. Congratulations.
I really appreciate it, and when it comes to filling the shoes, I've really only gotten to know Steve as well as I do, which is better than I have over the past couple of years, in the last maybe year and a half. And it's a fool's errand to try to fill the shoes. Whoever gets in the seat does their thing, and you can't think of filling those shoes. I was constantly surprised at what I saw from Steve. Quite a guy. The board has to miss him. You have to miss him. So, but I'm very, very pleased to be here, and I thank you all for your support, and we'll get stuff done.
Welcome. At this time, I have a motion to adjourn our special meeting. Well, I will make the motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hollenbach. The meeting is closed. At this time, I'd like to call the public works session of the Neshaminy School Board to order for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Ms. Burns, I need a roll call, please.
Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mrs. Hallenbeck.
Present.
Mrs. Bowman. Here. Mr. Kovitz.
Here.
Mrs. Lafferty.
Here.
Mr. Linden.
Here.
Mr. Cirillo.
Here.
Mr. Sporny.
I am here.
And Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements pertaining to this meeting?
No, we do not.
That brings us to 1.06, Superintendent's Report. Dr. McGee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. In board docs, the board will find May's enrollment report. Enrollment is stable. Also know we are tracking 400 future kindergartners. We're looking for 250 or so more. So if you see any little people running around the neighborhood, send them our way. We'd like to get them registered. We are ahead of pace on that. Over the past 3 weeks, I think, our elementary and middle schools were involved in PSSA testing. That's grade 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, reading and math, and then fourth graders get science along with the eighth graders. One of the silver linings of our pandemic may be how we address such tests. One, we've gone digital. No longer paper, pencil, and big piles of paper and shuffling things back and forth, and it was without pain for the most part. So thank you to our teachers and our IT department. And maybe more importantly, it seems like the PSSA have passed without a whole lot of concern, stress, pumping it up. But it's just an assessment that tells us how well we're doing as a district and how well individual kids are doing and what we need to do to help them. And that's what it should be. It should just be an assessment and one data point. So it seemed that's the way it felt to me. I'm hoping this is something that sticks. And we continue to put such tests in lesser high-stakes area. So that could be silver lining of a pandemic. If you remember back a couple months ago, we were supposed to have Mr. Devlin come up and speak, but he was trumped by a bowling state championship, so we delayed him. And Mr. Devlin has been doing something in the district for a long time before it was even vogue, and that's making sure that every student, all of them, have equal access or included in our school populations. That includes kids going to school where they should go to school and kids participating in things when they should participate in things. So one of the things that I'm very appreciative of is that, and when I see the junior class trip online on the Neshaminy Share and I look at those pictures and think there was a time when all those kids weren't included in that picture. So Anthony's done a great job. One of my favorite moments was the September prior to September of the start of the year of the pandemic. Anthony said, let's bring certain groups of kids back to school before anybody else wanted to bring them back to school, and the county decided to follow. So Mr. Devlin's going to give us a little report. He promised to be under 3 minutes, so we will time you, Anthony. And ladies and gentlemen, Director of Pupil Services, Anthony Devlin.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. Good evening, Board. 3 minutes, and you are correct, Rob. So I oversee Pupil Services, and a lot of people always ask what Pupil Services is. And it's more than just special education. First off, we start when we get the students in kindergarten with our central registration process. And this is a service that we provide to the community, now completely online central registration. And just to give you an idea of how large this position is that our registrar has already registered over 1,500 students for this year alone. So although we're a district of 9,000 students, we register much more than you would think every year. Speaking of registration, I would be remiss if I didn't ask the board if you can relay to the community at large that we're still doing kindergarten registration for next year. We're currently at 377 completely registered students. For next year, we're expecting about 620. So we need to get that word out there so that our community registers prior to the summer would be helpful for everybody. In line with the central registration is child accounting. Now, it's important when we look at child accounting, this is how we get our funding from the federal and state government. So we need to report accurately so that we can get as much funding as we can to continue with the great program that we offer for our kiddos. Health services. So one of the things that Rob was talking about was what we provide to our students so they can come to school to the neighborhood building. We have over 15 nursing professionals that provide services to our students, whether it be in buses, in schools, or alternative locations, so that our kids, regardless of what their needs are, they can come to school and take advantage of what we have to offer at Neshaminy. If we look deeper into what some of our current trends are with our students, we need to look at behavioral services, counseling services. We have close to 50 people within the district who concentrate on emotional and behavioral needs, from guidance counselors, behavior analysts, social workers, IEP counselors, and psychologists. They work collaboratively. They provide linkages to outside agencies, to many agencies in the community. We work close with children and youth, and we make sure that our kiddos have not only the academic needs being fulfilled through C&I, but social, emotional, and behavioral needs as well through counseling services. Now, special education, little circle, but this is what special education means to me. This is probably the bread and butter of my position. So since I've been here as a director of Pupil Services since maybe 2011, we have grown the program internally to include a full continuum of special education services, from learning support to multi-disability support. There is no reason why a child of any need cannot be in a neighborhood school today in the Neshaminy School District, and that's because of the support from people like Rob and Don and the other cabinet members who allow me to increase what we have. The teachers have gone above and beyond ever since COVID to ensure that the kids have the greatest educational opportunities here in the district. When I started here at Neshaminy in 2008 as a supervisor, I was, to be honest with you, I was taken aback because I was meeting with families who had children who graduated, who never stepped foot in a neighborhood building. Today, I can honestly say that is no longer an issue here. Our kids are in our buildings. So, Rob, I tried to make it under 3 minutes. I hope I made your 3 minutes. I just wanted to show you what great things that our teachers are doing and the opportunities that our families have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devlin. And when you think about equity and inclusion, this is where it starts. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot simpler. Mr. Allen, that's our report.
I thank you. And on a personal note, Mr. Devlin, I want to thank you. I've mentioned this a number of times. One of the driving forces to my interest in special education is because of my brother, who had cerebral palsy, who never stepped into a Neshaminy school. And I don't believe that would be the case today. And I can't tell you how deeply what that means to me, that we are this inclusive. Thank you. At this time, the podium is open for public comment. Do we have any sign-ups? Approach the podium. Of course, introduce yourself and be
Hi.
mindful of your time.
I'll try. My name is Deborah Harker, Middletown Township. 2 items were passed at the end of the last school board meeting that I'm not so sure the public really realized were going to be passed. And the reason why I'm not so sure that the public was aware of them was because they were never on the agenda. And I was sort of surprised. I know that they were passed with a lot of heart and a lot of honor for the people that these things were passed for. But it wasn't exactly passed with the typical type of policy and procedure that I have seen from coming to these meetings over the past 11 years. They were passed very quickly. They were passed without any questions. While the public had an opportunity to comment, the only public who really had an opportunity to comment were the people who were still sitting in the seats at the very, very end of the meeting, and that's because they were never advertised on the agenda. I was also sort of surprised because the 2 motions that were made with so many terms and conditions contained within them that there was plenty of forethought put into them, which means you had enough time to advertise those items. So I'd like to ask, why weren't they? And I think that when I sat here and I listened to them, it sounded kind of nice. It sounded like there were 2 plaques in honor of 2 people who were community members, and it sounded nice and kumbaya, and you all were in a state of emotion and respect for the people, and they passed. I'd like to know, did any of you actually read those items before you approved them? Did you compare the 2 to see how they were different? Sitting here and hearing them read verbally, they were done too quickly to be able to understand the terms and conditions that were contained within those 2 motions. So now I'd like to read them a little bit more carefully, side by side, so that you and the public can know what was passed. There was a motion for a plaque in honor of Mr. Bowman. The motion states that it will be procured by the district. It will be bronze and will not exceed 2 feet by 2 feet. This plaque will be designed by the superintendent with consideration of the Bowman family. The design will be submitted to the board. advertised at another school board meeting for final approval before the purchase is made. And this is the big one. The motion intentionally suspended a school board policy, 701.1, when they passed the item. Now I'm going to read the motion for the Puritano plaque. This motion states, it will be designed and provided by the Puritano family. The plaque shall not exceed 1,300 square inches. You guys can start doing the math while I finish. It shall be placed and attached to a specific wall under a specific overhang in front of the NHS workout room, specifically labeled A106. And the board again suspended School Board Policy 701.1 in order to pass the item. Did you guys catch the differences? My first concern with these, besides bypassing a policy and passing something that you had an entire procedure for, is that you have no creative control or final say built into the motion for the Puritano plaque. Do any of you know what the design is going to be? Is the public going to be allowed to view it and have any public say before this item is purchased and attached to one of our buildings? 1,300 square inches. I kind of got taken aback. I was trying to figure out the math in my head, and before I knew it, it was already passed. 1,300 square inches is 3 feet by 3 feet. I kind of find it sort of silly that it was introduced as 1,300 square inches instead of just saying 1 square yard or 3 feet by 3 feet. That's a very large plaque, and I don't know of another former school board member who has been honored with a 3 foot by 3 foot permanent bronze billboard on one of our buildings. It's in honor of his late son, and I have just as much heartfelt pain for that family and what they have gone through. But how many other families in Neshaminy have experienced that same type of grief? Families whose students currently were attending students when they lost their lives. Students who were recently serving our country when they lost their lives. And where are their 3 feet by 3 feet plaques attached to our building? Do any of you know, just one moment, do any of you know what School Board Policy 701.1 is that you bypassed in order to pass the items that you passed last meeting? And I would like to ask maybe the head of your policy committee, what is the point of having a school board policy if you then vote to disregard your policy in order to pass items? I know you want to stop me and you're not going to. The School Board Policy 701.1, which I have a copy of, states that this should have gone to committee. And others, Nobody else is banging on your door? There is nobody here. There's nobody here. The School Board Policy 701.1 says that it should have gone to policy, to committee, and the superintendent should have engaged the community, staff members, members of your group, to review the request and nomination for the plaque before it was procured. And you took that away from the public. And at the last meeting, this is my final comment.
Please.
There was a mention to a group of people who at one point had a lot of common interests in regards to this school board committee. School board. They called us the AVMs. I've kind of distanced myself from that. But regardless, the one point that that group always held truth to was that the school board should be transparent to the community members. And by passing those two items in a flurry and not with the typical policy and procedure that you normally hold yourselves accountable to, it shows that you're actually interested in sweeping things under the rug.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other senators? I call public comment to a close. That brings us to agenda items 2. These are action items. 2.01. Ms. Lafferty, would you read that for us, please?
Absolutely. 2.01, revised 2021-2022 calendar, certified staff. Whereas inclement weather forced the closing of school on 3 occasions during the 2021-2022 school year, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves a revised 2021-2022 school calendar which changes the certified staff last day to be June 22nd, 2022. Be it further resolved that district administration designs such make-up days to meet the needs of the district and staff.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Sullivan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item passes 8-0-1. No. 2.02, I call Mr. Kovitz, please.
Yes, sir. 2.02, Title I and Title IIA Service Agreements, Equitable Non-Public Services. Whereas this agreement entered on this May 17th, 2022, by and between the Bucks County Intermediate Unit Number 22, located at 705 North Shady Retreat Road, Doylestown, Pennsylvania 18901, hereinafter referred to as Bucks IU, and Neshaminy School District located at 2001 Old Lincoln Highway, Langhorne, Pennsylvania 19047, hereinafter referred to as District. And whereas District desires the Bucks IU to provide the services outlined in the attached agreements, and whereas these agreements shall be for 3 years and commence on July 1st, 2021, and shall terminate on June 30th, 2024, provided that either party to this agreement may terminate either or both agreements sooner upon providing 30 days written notice, and whereas Bucks IU agrees to perform these services under the terms and conditions set forth in these agreements. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby enters into the attached service agreements with Bucks County Intermediate Unit Number 22, and that's it.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cerullo. Are there any discussions for that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 8-0-1. Brings us to item 2.03. Ms. Hollenbach, please.
2.03, the 2022-2023 proposed final budget. Whereas 24 PS 6-687 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code requires that the Board of School Directors prepare a proposed final budget at least 30 days prior to the adoption of the final budget and to make the proposed final budget available for public inspection at least 20 days prior to the date set for the adoption of the final budget. And whereas 24 PS 6-687 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code requires that the President of the Board of School Directors certify to the Pennsylvania Department of Education that the proposed final budget was prepared, presented, and made available for public inspection using the uniform form furnished by the Department of Education, and whereas the Board of School Directors has the 2022-2023 proposed final budget of the school district in the required form, at desire the same be made available for public inspection as required by law. And whereas the total revenue equals $194,529,542 and expenditures equals $195,701,284 and the millage rate of 171.23, meaning there is a tax increase included in this proposed final budget for the 2022-2023 year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of Directors hereby adopts the attached 2022-2023 proposed final budget presented at this May 10th, 2022 public meeting, and the same shall be made available for public inspection and be made available for duplication to any person on request beginning on May 11th, 2022, and that the President of the School Directors is authorized to issue the certification of the Pennsylvania Department of Education required by 24 PS 6-687. Be it further resolved that the Board of School Directors will adopt the 2022-2023 final budget of the school district at a public meeting to be held on June 21st, 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Hollenbeck. Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sullivan. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 8-0-1. That brings us to 2.04. Mr. Cerullo, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 2.04, first reading of policy. Whereas the Board Policy Committee reviewed Policy Series 300 employees at the May 3rd, 2022 Policy Committee meeting, and whereas the following board policies are being recommended for a policy first reading. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of Directors reviewed Policy Series 300 employees and recommended a second reading and final adoption of the policies noted below at the May 24th, 2022 Public Board meeting. Policies were included Section 317, 317.1, 318, 323, and 351.
Thank you, Mr. Cerullo. A motion is on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any discussion on 2.04? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries 8-0-1. That brings us to item 2.05. Ms. Hollenbeck, please.
2.05 Employee Healthcare Premiums 2022 through 2023. Whereas the Neshaminy School District operates a self-insured health insurance program in order to curtail spiraling health insurance costs, and whereas the self-insurance program needs to operate at a break-even, and whereas the expense for next year's are projected to reach $16.8 million, and whereas the current rates for health insurance are not projected to meet the projected expenses, and whereas the employee contractual amount of contribution is between 14% and 19%. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy School District's premium rates for health insurance shall be raised by 8.8% for the fiscal year of 2022 through 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Hollenbeck. A motion is on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cerullo. Item is open for discussion. Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries 8-0-1. That brings us to our agenda item 3, items for approval at the public meeting. 3.01, routine business matters, will be presented May 24th, 2022 in the public meeting. 3.02, annual appointments for the year 2022 through 23. 3.03, summer work and projects approval. 3.04, be the appointment of treasurer. 3.05, contracted services for 2022 through 2023. I was doing well there. Now I lost my place. 3.06, facility and energy usage fees. 3.07, depositories of school funds. 3.08, competitive electronic auction bidding. 3.09, cooperative purchasing agreements. 3.10, breakfast and lunch pricing. 3.11, newspapers of record. 3.12, petty cash accounts. 3.13, procurement card use. 3.14, the taxpayer bill of rights. 3.15, the Bucks County Technical High School budget for the year 2022 through 2023. 3.16, student settlement agreements. 3.17, out-of-district placements. 3.18, overnight trips. 3.19 will be the second reading of policy, the 300 series. We'll go through a few of those. 3.20, Aramark Food Services contract. 3.21, the ESS Substitute Services contract. Oh, that is tabled until June. Just noted that. 3.22 will be the appointment of Assistant Secretary. And 3.23 will be the 2021 Homestead and Farmstead exclusion. Those are the items that will be on the agenda at the next public meeting. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the board?
Mr. Allen, if I can just comment on 3.23.
Certainly, that is the,
That should be the 2022 Homestead Farmstead exclusion, not 21.
oh, thank you, Mr. Irwin. Yes, 3.23 will be the 2022 Homestead and Farmstead exclusion resolution. Thank you, Mr. Irwin. No other comments or discussion on any of those agenda items coming up? Okay. That brings us to our committee reports. 4.01, business operations. Mrs. Hollenbeck, please.
Our next business operations meeting is June 1st, 6:30 in this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hollenbeck. Educational development, Ms. Bowman. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll take that.
That was Ms. Laverty.
The Educational Development Committee meeting was held on April 19th, 2022. The district's current science, technology, engineering, and math programs were reviewed. In addition to the current programs, goals for the 2022-2023 were reviewed for the elementary, middle, and high school levels. The Educational Development Committee will reconvene in the fall.
Thank you, Ms. Lafferty. That brings us to 4.03, facilities and planning. Mr. Sullivan.
The next facilities and planning meeting is tomorrow night in this room at 6:30. We'll be discussing the update on the Fields project, some value engineering savings, and we'll be revisiting the bid process for the new school to possibly be built on this location.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. 4.04, policy, Mr. Cerullo.
Policy Committee met last week and completed policy review series 300 employees. Committee has conducted their meetings for the year and will pick up committee meetings next fall.
Thank you, Mr. Cerullo. That brings us to our representative reports, and back in the batter's box is Mr. Cerullo for the IU Board.
Thank you again, Mr. Allen. Just as a reminder, the Bucks County Intermediate Unit does provide preschool early intervention. The program provides services to infants and toddlers with disabilities or developmental delays. The sooner intervention services are able to be initiated, the greater opportunity a child has for maximum growth and developmental gains prior to beginning elementary school. Early intervention services may close the achievement gap for children with disabilities and delayed development. For more information on the early intervention program, please go to the Bucks County IU .org website for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cerullo. That brings us to the Neshaminy Education Foundation. Mr. Kovitz, please.
Yes, sir. The Neshaminy Education Foundation is pleased to announce the winners of the 2022 Nef Scholarships. The following four Neshaminy High School seniors will each receive $1,000 to be used toward their post-secondary education. Joshua Adler, Jessica Mim, Kylie Morozen, Aaron Lewis. Congratulations to all and best wishes for continued success. A reminder to area businesses that the application process for the Pennsylvania Educational Improvement Tax Credit Program is now open. This program offers eligible businesses tax credits for contributions to the NEF for specific educational programs. For information, please visit the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue website or the NEF website at www.neshaminy.org/NEF. The next Foundation Board meeting will be held on Monday, June 13th at 4 p.m. here at Maple Point. Members of the community are invited to attend and participate.
Thank you, Mr. Kovitz. Agenda item 5.03 is our Pennsylvania School Board Association liaison, which is currently vacant. Was formerly held by Mr. Puritano. So moving on to agenda 5.04, technical school, that is myself and Mr. Kovitz. The Bucks County Technical High School Joint Board met April 25th, 2022. We, as always, took care of housekeeping, but of note, we approved the 2022 through 2023 Bucks County Technical High School budget and approved it being sent out to the districts for approval. We will be voting on that at our next public meeting. We approved the 2022 through 2023 Bucks County Technical High School calendar, and we approved students and chaperones to attend the Skills USA National Competition. Of note, as I like to read out, our Neshaminy students who, exceptional students at the tech school. We have our senior Luke Downey from our Neshaminy School District, who participated in the 2022 Greater Philadelphia Automotive Competition. There were 12 teams. They participated in a 5-hour event. Luke received a $1,000 scholarship and prizes. The multimedia design, digital design and programming seniors had victories at the Pennsylvania Media and Design Competition. Our students, Quinn Van Dongen, came in first place for web design, and we have a second place winner in Kai Jones for animation and for animation, we'll leave it at that. I can't read the Yes, it's digital technical. And we have Amanda Aquilone from the Commercial and Advertising Arts Program. She had a self-portrait piece which won honorable mention in the 27th Annual High School Exhibition and the 2022 Congressional Art Competition. Congratulations, and thank you for representing Neshaminy so well. And the next meeting of the technical school, I don't have in front of me. So I'll conclude with that. Thank you. Now, that brings us to the close of the meeting. We have another round of public comment. Anyone wish to come?
I'm not talking about it this time.
Mindful of time, Ms. Harker, please.
Oh, it's really quick. I just have a quick question, which is the proposed budget looks like it's going up by $1.17 million. I was just curious, what does that mean to the average household? If you could possibly let us know that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I close public comment. 6.02, we have any future topics? Anyone on the board? No. That brings us to 6.03, board comment. Anyone?
Superintendent?
Dr. McGee, I forgot. Again.
That's okay, other than welcoming Mr. Linden to the team. I have no other comments.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. Now bring us back to board comment. Anyone?
I just wanted to welcome Mr. Linden aboard. I'm sure everyone's going to do the same thing, so. And his life will never be the same from here forward.
By design.
Welcome, Mr. Linden. I look forward to working with you. Don,
Yes.
can you answer Ms. Harker's question, please?
Yes, the millage, each mill represents $28 to the average taxpayer. And we have a millage increase of 5.6 mils. However, this year, because of the homestead, farmstead relief, additional money, so let's go back to the average, the increase. That average increase would be $157.84 to each taxpayer. But because of the additional taxpayer relief money coming from the gambling revenues to the Neshaminy School District from the Department of Revenue, that $157 would be reduced by $95.65. So the net increase to the average taxpayer for this increase would be $62.19 for those 5.6 mil increase. To a household, that's correct. Each assessed valuation to the average homeowner.
Again, Steve, welcome. That's it. That's all I got.
Also, I'll repeat, welcome aboard. We'll be giving out, reorganizing some of our committees. I'll be in touch with you, or Ms. Hollenbeck and I will discuss it, and we'll get back to you. All right. I have no comment this evening, other than Ms. Harker, I understand your point of view. I understand what you're saying. We all the district still retains approval for anything submitted as a gift or a commemorative plaque or a memorial. I understand. I assume it is not a personal issue. I think your point was that it could become a controversial issue. We don't, I mean, if someone wishes to gift the school or something, we don't know what they may put on it. I think we all are confident that Mr. Puritano, being a board member, will not give us anything that we can't put. I believe that, but I understand your point that there are, someone else could submit something that could be an issue, and we've given up. But my understanding is that that can't be, even though we bypassed the committee process. Ultimately, anything we put on our buildings is our responsibility as a board and a district, and I believe that we retain final approval on anything submitted for our buildings. Hope that, okay. With that said, anyone else chime in? No?
I'll make comment, Mr.
Please.
Allen. Mr. Linden, welcome to the board. Look forward to meeting you. I grew up in Lower Southampton in Feasterville, so we're one and the same. And I just wanted to comment, Ms. Harker, I believe, you had mentioned you were wanting transparency, and you kind of walked through pretty cleanly the process. I'll be fully transparent. I was really proud to have a vote in honoring something to do that was very important to Mr. Piratano, hands down. So I don't know. There's rules and things like that that obviously we followed, but just the overarching ability to honor Mr. Piratano, I think maybe it was 1 square inch per hour of service or something like that, because he's probably spent thousands of hours. So he personally, in the short time that I was here, really made an impact on my view of all of this that goes on. So I was proud to be a part of something that meant a lot to him. So there's a lot of nuances in what we do, and it's important that whatever they submit is something that we all are okay with. But I just wanted to mention that I think everyone, or I guess I should only speak for myself, I was proud to give that honor for him.
Thank you. All right, moving on to future meetings. In particular, our public board meeting is May 24th at 7 p.m. in this room. There is a facility meeting tomorrow night, right, in this. And with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Covid motioned, there's a motion on the floor. Ms. Hollenbeck, second. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.